So, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ike MMA Podcast, and I'm here with my co-host Emmanuel from Prospects MMA. Emmanuel, how are you?
I am very good, man. Very, very good. Very good.
It's
And you?
nice. No, I'm well. I'm well. I'm fine. It's nice to see you're still fresh and not hungover from yesterday. I thought you'd be spending the whole day drinking, celebrating your
No, no, no.
day.
We don't do that. We are in training camp for the 9th of April, so we don't do that.
You got a fight coming up, isn't it? Yes. I
Yes,
remember.
yes. 9th of April, we're fighting. So I got a weight to be on. I got to be in shape. If I don't do all the things that I'm supposed to do, it's going to show on the day. I'm going to get exposed. And that's something I don't want happening, obviously.
Oh
So
no, of
whatever
course.
celebrations, you know, they can all wait until after. I'll be drunk after. I'll be drunk. I'll be hangover the day after. Like all those things. I'll do all that the day after. But until then, no,
Emmanuel,
absolutely
one
not.
just one thing. I can still hear an echo. Are you sure your audio is coming through just purely through the headphones that you're wearing?
Speak.
I can still hear an echo.
Yeah. So while you're talking, the sound's coming from here, from the headphones.
Hmm,
When you're talking, yeah. So I
okay.
don't know what that is. I never have that problem on the Instagram lives. Like as long as my guest is also wearing headphones, then it's fine. But if they are not wearing, then you can hear the phone obviously
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
reproducing my,
playing back.
my
Yeah.
sound on their end, and that catches on the microphone and feeds it back to me. So yeah,
So let's get
no,
straight into it. Bellator
okay.
275, Bellator Dublin. I know it's a bit late because now everyone's
Wow,
focusing on the next. God.
yeah, that was that was an experience and a half. It was like fucking amazing. Have you ever been to a live event, like
No,
UFCs or
no,
anything like that?
I
Never,
think
right?
the closest I've been is the AFS that on your behalf I went to about three
Oh,
weeks
that's
ago
right.
now. Yeah. Well, that was
Yeah,
an
yeah, yeah,
experience in
yeah.
itself. Yeah.
Right. So say the AFS is something like, say it's like Cage Warriors or IUR Fighting Championship.
Yeah.
This one, like if you've seen any of the videos on my feed about the crowd and the stadium, and like it's like 1,000 times bigger. Like no joke. It was like filled, like, yeah, top to bottom, all the people you see on TV, like right there in front of you. That was like so surreal. Um, Guests that I had on the podcast before, like Sinead Kavanagh, I had never met her before,
Shoot, they were
so
there.
like seeing her there, seeing like Austin Vanderford in the backstage, like right next to me. Jorno Lugo that I had on the podcast from the US flies all the way over to Ireland to fight Brian Moore. Um, Having that moment to interview them after the fights, like the whole thing was amazing. Yeah.
Mm, nice.
Let me know where you want me to start, or I won't stop
No,
talking.
start,
So
start, start, no, start from the beginning. What was it like? I mean, when you got there, was like proper security has to go through, and did they give you the full freedom to roam wherever you wanted to in terms of interviewing
no,
fighters? Okay,
no, right. So um, way more organized than say the likes of a Clan Wars, Cage Warriors, or sorry, Cage Legacy, IUR, like all those shows, Chaos. Um, as soon as I got there, I had to be like searched by security, like
yeah,
a fucking airport kind of deal,
yes,
because I was bringing my big bag with my equipment inside, and metal detectors and shit, and oh, we
yeah,
got to check everything. And then there was a mix up because I got the email saying because of COVID restrictions, we will not be supplying any food or drinks. So please bring your own food or drinks.
sure,
And I bring it, and then the guy is like, "Oh, you're not allowed food or drinks." And then I'm like, "But the email says here you can." So then he had to go and get someone else, like a supervisor. The supervisor was like, "Oh yeah, he's media, he's fine. Yes, he can go ahead." So then they let me through. Then I had to go and collect my credentials first, show my ID and all that stuff. get the Wi-Fi passwords for the media people, get all that set up
I see.
on my phones. Then they went to show me to the media corner, and they went to show me like, this is where we're doing the interviews, and this is where you're sitting in between fights.
Sure.
So I was only allowed to go from like basically A to B. So
Yeah.
I'm either on the media corner, or I can either go backstage to do the interviews. And besides that, toilet. So it's only like, you can go to the toilet, you can go to the media corner, or backstage. That's about it. Um, so yeah, so as soon as I go to the media corner, front row, all fucking taken by Severe MMA. They had like 5 or 6 guys on there.
Yeah.
Big team. Like Andy Stevens was there. Sean was there. Um, yeah, I don't remember the other names, but yeah, like they had their whole team there basically. So I arrived like after 5, and the media bit opened at 5. So I take it that they were all queuing and ready to go for 5 to take the front row seats or something. Again, first time doing an event like that, so I didn't really know what to expect or anything. But yeah, I find like a free spot. I don't see who's there. I'm just asking, like, excuse me, can I get through, and this and that? Because I wanted to stay next to the leads so I could charge my phones, right? And the leads were like in between the tables, and then you had like 4 seats to each side, and there was like one team of guys that were from the Daily Mirror in London, right?
Yeah.
Or the
Okay.
Daily News, whichever the big one is.
Daily Mirror must be.
Daily Mirror. There you
Yeah.
go. So three guys actually from Daily Mirror, and I sit next to him, and like, who's right there? Obviously part of that team. It's Donna Corbin, who's the guy that used to work for MMA Island and who recommended me to fill his spot because he got a full-time job at the Daily Mirror.
You told me. You told me. Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the guy that at the very first Clan Wars showed me what to do and told me like, oh, you did this, you did that, and blah blah blah, and do the stories. Yeah. So the guy like pretty much showed me the ropes, and I thought it was so funny that very first Bellator, I'm like right next to him again, sitting right next to him again. And yeah, you can see like the levels, like there's levels to this. And the guy is like so professional, like, suit and tie, and has his laptop, and he's writing articles and shit. And he was able to get an interview with Conor McGregor. And as soon as he gets the interview with Conor McGregor, it's like sit down, headphones on, to listen to what the words were, start transcribing the article and all this and that, and upload it straight away onto the website. So like, yeah, next level stuff. So yeah, so that was cool in a way, like full circle, Clan Wars to Bellator, and I'm right next to the same guy, and filling his spot basically, filling his spot from MMA Island because they didn't have anybody at the last Bellator. So yeah, so sit there. Then a couple of more guys from like 2 Irish newspapers sit next to me. What's up?
I just had a call come through.
You never put your phone on silent or like
No,
don't disturb?
it's just that I put call forwarding, so I just hope nothing. I recognize the number, just hope it's nothing serious. But anyway,
right.
We done.
But yeah, so then a couple more guys from Irish newspaper sit next to me with like proper equipment, proper cameras and all this and that shit. And then like I only got my phones. That's like literally all I got here. But anyway, I didn't let that get in the way or anything like that. So shortly after that, first fight starts, and yeah, the action began. Like try and get footage and stuff in between, or as the fight goes on, and the security comes over and is like, no videos allowed and this and that. You're not allowed to to record or take
You
photos.
see, that's been one of my main concerns, especially when I went to AFS and the first live event, watching a fight cage side for the first time. There always seems to be at least one person that didn't get the memo that this is what your superior sent, and it's in writing in an email, and then this is what you're saying when you get to the actual event on the day of the event. Because all the email that you were given, which came from the organizers Bellator and Scott Coker, they must have seen that, because that email was written by their superiors, by their employers. So that's pretty
By the
annoying,
PR company. Yeah, it's by the PR company that works for Bellator. So like I was able to like speak with everybody in the backstage and get the inside scoop of how this all works. So basically, Bellator hires a PR company who then handles all the media credentials. They are the ones that write out the emails, and they are the ones that write, for example, their tweets and stuff like that. They choose the best photos. Like right next to the media corner, there was the Bellator corner, and you could see the guys working on editing the footage in real time and tweeting and choosing the best photos and the best angles and like all these stuff that people don't see from the back, right? From the production side. And it kind of reminded me whenever I was doing like the Game of Thrones, or whenever I was doing the Line of Duty, those shows. There's so much that goes on behind the cameras that people have no idea.
Of course.
People don't even imagine. So, because whenever I was doing like a bit of acting and extra work and all that stuff, I was like mind blown by everything that goes in the backstage. So, in a way, it was the same thing again, just watching everything that goes on behind. Because like a show like AFS, Clan Wars, like that's a very small show. They just have like the 2 cameras and they are streaming it live, and there's no editing of the footage. They might do a replay or something, and that's it. Where this is being televised, right? There's being televised. They have adverts going in the middle. They have the replays that they have to play from maybe different angles and this and that. If there's you know, if there's something that happened and people don't know if it's a foul or not, or this and that, or you know, was it really a kick in the nuts or was it not? Let's play from this angle. Let's play from that angle. Let's see if we can see it. You know, that kind of stuff. So all that is happening in real time. So that was cool to see. But yeah, anyway, for first fight, Lee Hammond, the guy that I told you keep an eye on. First round finish. Conor McGregor then storms in. Like I wasn't seeing him whatsoever, and then he comes from the backstage, which is like right next to where we were, and he goes inside the cage and all that. And then when he comes out, I take that video that MMA Island posted, and yeah, that video goes viral because like people got to see how thick and big Conor McGregor is right now.
Yeah, I've noticed he's a lot. Before he used to look quite skinny, almost skeletal like. Now he's putting lots of muscle size.
Looks like a monster and a half, man. He looks like a monster and a half. This is like light heavyweight McGregor. No joke. So yeah. Oh, you can see.
Anyway, no, but I've seen enough images to see what he looks like at the moment.
Like
I can't see that.
This video got 200,000 over 200,000 views already on Instagram.
But that was a video that you recorded for MMA Island. You were there. You recorded that video for MMA Island.
Yeah, basically like everything that I was doing, like they said this is what they want, so I did what they wanted, and then everything else that I wanted for me, I did it for me, you know. So like all the backstage interviews, they weren't necessary, but I done it for me, for my own content, you know.
I'm just saying that anything you recorded for them, not and I have nothing against MMA against MMA Island, but they're great. But you know, since you were there, I think you could have, you know, also added it to your account as well, because it's kind of
it did.
It
did.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they put me as their collaborator and they tagged me on it, and I got a bunch of follows after that post.
Mm.
And the post is still going viral. So yeah, like you know that you're getting followers from them whenever like I do this, when I get a new follow, I just check because it says, oh, this person also follows, clan wars or this and that or blah blah blah. So I know they are coming, from the Irish scene or whatever. Where this one is like they follow MMA Island, and that's about it. There's
Mm.
nothing else in common. So I know it's coming from their side. But yeah, like it's at the end of the day, it's their content. They are
Yeah,
hiring me to do a job, so the
yeah, sure.
content is theirs. But yeah, man, I was in charge of the account pretty much. So um, all the stories that you saw posted on the day from MMA Island, that was me posting all the tags, all that, and I made sure that I gave the guys from here the exposure on the MMA Island. So
Good,
like
yeah.
when Lee Hammond had his victory, also on the story, tagged him, tagged the SPG Ireland, Coach Kavanagh, and all that stuff, and that goes into the MMA Island, so everybody can see that. When Dara Kelly got his victory, same thing. Nathan Kelly, Kieran Clark, like all those guys, I made sure I put them all on the stories of the MMA Island, so that they can get the exposure. Obviously, I tagged myself in all the stories, so
Good,
then
of
I
course, yeah.
could, yeah, so then I could reshare to my page as well. Um, and yeah, again, I'm there to service the fighters, right? For the entertainment that they are providing us as fans, right?
Sure.
So there to provide as much exposure as possible, and yeah, make sure everybody sees their handiwork, I guess. So yeah, so that was that, man. As soon as the fight started and the interview started and all that, I I was kind of like hanging in the back to see what everybody else is doing, and then kind of follow along. So since I saw some guys taking pictures and filming and this and that, I was like, okay, I guess I can do the same shit.
Yeah, yeah.
And I start doing it, and then the security comes over and he says, "You can't do that." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry, whatever." And I put the stuff away. And then I see guys doing it again, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Right? Okay, if they're doing, I'm doing it too. And then I do it again. The difference was now this was in between rounds.
Okay.
So the first time was while the fight was live. Second time in between rounds. And then the guy comes and says the same thing, and I'm like, but everybody else is doing as well. And then he goes and checks with somebody, and then somebody else who's above him comes and talks to us, and he says, okay, you're allowed in between fights and after the fight is over. So I was sorry, in between rounds and after the fight is over, but no photos or videos while the fight is going. I'm like, okay, okay. So now we have a black and white situation where I know where I'm crossing the line and I know where the line is, so I know where to work. Okay, so that's fine. Um, and yeah, and from then on, we had no problems whatsoever.
Okay.
It was like super cool to watch the guys fight, go backstage, talk to them. Conor McGregor then comes backstage, and he's like, "Oh, the work you guys do in the media is so important for us, and this and that." I'm like, "Oh, cool." Got a fist pump as well. Like, yeah, sweet. And then the biggest fail ever was when I asked him to if we can take a photo, and he says yes. I'm like, "Oh, sweet." And my camera has the setting of as a selfie, a 2 second delay, and the flash on.
Yeah.
And I forgot to take that off to like take immediate photos. So the flash goes on. He thinks the photo's done, and he walks away while the 1 2 second is going. So the photo that I have is like him like walking right behind me, walking away.
Uh,
And
I'm
I can
sure
only
other
laugh
people.
at it.
No, other people
Yeah.
want his time as well. So I'm sure he's being harassed by so many other people in the other media for
Oh
other
man, I
media
felt
people
sorry
and
for
whatever.
him. I felt so sorry for him because like the guy was being swarmed, not just by fans, right?
Mm.
But by media on the inside and even like securities, coaches, other fighters, like everybody wants a selfie with the guy. Everybody wants to talk to him.
Yeah, I know.
It's like whenever I asked him, like I totally regret asking him because like in my mind this was going to be like such a cool moment or a special moment, and the guy was like, yeah, right, okay, yeah, like you could see like
You're
I must have
tired.
been like the 1,000 person on that day asking, for the same shit again and again and again
Mhm.
and again. And I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, okay. Like I'll
But
never
you
ask
said,
again.
Emmanuel,
It's a bit
you've said
selfish.
that when you've been to certain fights, maybe for the smaller promotions, that has happened to you. Kind of maybe they don't ask many pictures, but people was calling your name out, prospects at MMA here and there because they've seen your interview with some of the fighters that they've been to see perform or to compete. So
Hmm.
I'm sure that's something you're used to.
Not that I'm used to, but like it's a smaller scale. Like
Yeah,
in
yes.
Bellator, three people come came and talk to me. Three people,
Mhm.
right? Three people out of thousands, thousands, thousands of people. Three came and talked to me. One messaged me and says, "Oh, I can see you down there, red T-shirt, blah blah blah. Can I come and talk to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, come on." And the guy came down and we talked, and he asked for a selfie, took a selfie, posted on his thing, tagged me. I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." Another one was a guest that I had on the podcast before, so we had talked, but again, he saw me on the media there, and he's like, "Oh, can I come down and talk to you?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And then there was another person just as I was walking to the toilets that asked. So like events like Clan Wars and Cage Legacy IUR, that kind of happens more often. But it's not that I'm used to. It's not that I big headed or anything. I, like I wouldn't be here or in this position that I am if it wasn't for my followers, if it wasn't
Yeah,
for
yeah.
fans or whatever you want to call it. If it wasn't for them, like I would not be here. If I was say a media page, or if I'm a podcast with say 300 followers, MMA Island would never pay attention to me or even entertain sending me on their behalf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm a guy that like I've put on over 300 hours of work into this, not counting the 11 events that I've done already, cage side coverage. Like that's always like 8, 10, 12 hours of a day just to do an event like that, plus the travel and all that stuff. So like they can see the work that I'm putting in, and yeah, so in that sense, if I'm putting all this work and say I don't get a return, then people will not be asking me, "Oh, can I take a photo or whatever?" So if they do, I will absolutely take time to say hello, to greet them, to take photo, all that. When he gets to thousands, if he ever gets to that, then I'll worry about that when that happens. But for now, it's like three people here, four people there, five people here. So like for each one of them, I got the time. Like it's not a bother at all.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
No, I
Where
know,
where
I know
where
what you
like
mean.
Conor McGregor, you must like I'm not kidding. The guy was being swarmed. Like,
Of
can you
course.
imagine being surrounded by people? I get fucking anxiety from that shit. I'm like, like if I'm surrounded by people, my alarms go off straight away. Shit's about to go down or something like that. So I don't have that feeling of, oh, this is just a positive experience. You know what I mean? Like one person, fine. Two people, fine. Like if I'm being fucking swarmed, yeah,
No,
like
because
my brain
no,
is not going to tell me this is a
but
positive experience. It's good to be surrounded. Like,
there's a
no.
saying that we have here in the UK. I'm not sure if it's something that's said around else around the world, but they say if you build it, they will come. And you've interviewed a lot of fighters. I mean, I've not interviewed that many fighters at all. I mean, yeah, but you've interviewed a lot of fighters. So even on the smaller local scene in Ireland and in the UK here, um, that would have gotten you some exposure, and so a lot of people would have known who you are. So yeah, no, of course, and because it's a sport that many people do like to follow, despite the argument between the future of mixed martial arts against boxing, still a lot of people like the sport, and a lot of people still respect and are loyal to people on the smaller local scenes. And eventually, those guys on the local scene will work their way up to the international scenes with Bellator, PFL, One Championship, and the UFC. So people aren't disregarding what you're doing at all.
Yeah. Like my favorite interview was the one with Nathan Kelly, and anybody can go watch that one on my YouTube, because I asked him how it is going from, Clan Wars, 9-second knockout, then getting the belt, to now being at Bellator. And Nathan says something along the lines of, "You've been there every step of the way." And like, that was so special, because it's true. Like, I had him on the podcast before he had his Clan Wars debut.
Yeah.
Watch him knock a guy out in 9 seconds. Watch him then become a contender. I had him on the podcast in between these steps, right? Watch him become a contender, fight for the belt, win the belt in the first round by knockout again. Watch him getting hired by Bellator for this fight, and I watched him live at this fight. So something like that is like, okay, like, yeah, there's I suppose there's no money that you can, buy a ticket to like document this shit, or to witness this stuff. So yeah, very blessed for doing what I'm doing what I love, and actually helping guys like this come up. Yeah, for sure.
We talked about the fighters, and we talked about Bellator 275 in Dublin. But something else I kind of experienced the hard way, especially this week, in the past 2 days before we're recording this episode, is when fighters cancel on you, or when something happens and they forget about the interview temporarily. Kind of, they have to, maybe whatever's come up, they have to they've got to face that, because obviously they want to.
It just happened to me yesterday.
Same to me.
Yeah. Like, last night I was supposed to have a guy at 9 o'clock. He was, and he forgot about it. I'm like, okay, cool, we'll reschedule. Like, no big deal. I'm used to that shit now.
It can be annoying because you're sat there waiting. You message them at least 2 to 3 hours, at least 2 hours before the scheduled time. You don't get a reply. And you're thinking maybe they have forgotten, maybe they're sleeping, maybe something has happened because they've got a fight coming up, or something important related to the fight. It has just come up out of nowhere by surprise. It's come up unexpectedly. Then obviously they're going to take care of that first. If they're injured or they've got a training set, they're obviously going to naturally. I would expect them to take care of that first before for an interview. The interview is always secondary, but it can be frustrating because you want to grow your platform, and sometimes it does seem like a setback. But all I can say is, I suppose it just makes me appreciate the highs a lot more when stuff like this happens. I mean, Monday I was supposed to do an interview with what's his name, Jovan Mastofovic or something like that, the Serbian sensation. Have you heard of him?
No.
I know he's I think he's just had one fight. He has another fight coming up this Saturday against is it I've forgotten it.
Where does he fight at?
He fights in, I think it's somewhere
in the UK?
Somewhere in southwest or southeast London, I think, in the Croydon area. But when we were doing the interview, and we kind of had to scrap the whole thing because he was on his way, he was driving, so the whole thing felt rushed. So I always do it at a time when he could sit down and just concentrate on the actual conversation, the dialogue that we were having.
Now, you see, stuff like that, I would never scrap. Like, if that's how it happened, and that's how it happened, and I would still publish it, and that's it, And that's just a small chapter in what may become a second interview, third interview, fourth, fifth, 10 interviews, 20 interviews down the line with this guy, because he's going to grow as a fighter in years to come, right? So
yeah,
whether he makes it to the UFC. If he does, if he becomes someone really well known, you're going to be kicking yourself in the teeth because you scrapped that interview that you had for the first time with him. You
You
know,
see, on the
that could
one
be
hand,
worth gold in years to come.
on
Like,
one
and
on the
that,
one
so
hand, I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying. But on the other hand, is it bad to be a perfectionist because you want it to be presentable?
absolutely, absolutely, it's super bad. And I can tell you that from dealing with clients. Clients, they come to me, they want to lose weight and this and that, and like as soon as they have day one perfect, and if day two doesn't go perfect, off the rails, binge eating, whatever. Ah, fuck it, because I messed this day up. Like, no, that's not the way to look at things. If you can't hit 100% today, aim for 90, and if you can't do 90, aim for 80, and you just go every day like as high as you can, and not everything has to be 100% every single day. Not like, for example, with me, it's not every day that I can get my 8 hours sleep. If I get
Yeah.
6 or 7, I just have to do with that, and that's it. Um, if not every day that I can hit 200 grams of protein, sometimes it's 180, and like it's fine. I don't have to go and binge eat just because I missed my protein target. It's not every day that I feel like exercising twice a day.
No, no, I know. I know what you mean.
And it's okay for me to take a day off from training, and so on and so forth. Being a perfectionist, it's the worst mentality that anyone can have towards anything, because if you don't get started, like, you're never going to get anywhere. Like if I was being a perfectionist, you understand that I would have never started this podcast. You understand that? If I was trying
Yeah,
to
of
be
course.
a
Yeah.
perfectionist, because I don't even fucking know how to work with Zoom, right? So I'm not perfect. I'll do the Instagram live. I know how to do that. And I have no intros, and I have no outros, and I have no YouTube channel, and I don't know how to upload Spotify, but I'll just start there. And I started there. And I don't know how to get guests. I'll work on that, and so on. And here I am a whole year later, and now I know how to upload Spotify. Now I know how to do YouTubes. Now I know how to put intros and outros. If I was being and here, it's not perfect still. It's not perfect. But I got sponsors, I got people interested on paying for advertisements on the podcast. So I'm actually starting to make money on this. Um, but again, if I was trying to be perfect, I would have never started, you
Mm,
know?
yeah.
And like, if I am trying to be perfect for this fight coming, I can tell you already, there's guys there that if it's a one-on-one fight, I'm going to lose. And there's nothing I can do about it because I don't have enough time to catch up with those guys, right? We're all training at the same time. There's guys that are taking the extra classes on Saturdays and Sundays, which are paid for. And I can't do that because I have a family, I have 4 kids. So I know my position is not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm only training twice a week, where I may be fighting a guy that's training 4 times a week. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
not perfect, but I'm going to do my best, you know?
Mm,
So that's a terrible mentality that I tell all my clients, like, forget about being perfect. It's not about that. It's about taking steps, small steps, if it has to be. And in 10 years' time, you can look at yourself and you can see, this is what I started, this is what I'm at now, you know? And I'm very blessed that I have now that mentality that I don't give a fuck about the first 300 episodes. I want to know who's going to be my 3,000 episode with. Is it going to be with Conor McGregor? Is it going to be already with the next superstar of the UFC? It
mm,
might be.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yes.
I have to build those 300 episodes first, and then get to 600, and then get to 1,000, and then 2,000, so that I can get to the 3,000 episode. I put on my post there, one day it's going to be me interviewing Conor McGregor, because I was there when Sean from Severe MMA was doing the interview backstage, and he also gave an interview to the Daily Mirror, the Donna Corbin guy that I was talking
Mm,
about,
mm, yeah.
and he gave an interview to the Low Kick MMA. So like 3 huge outlets, right, of media. MMA Island is not at that level. Low Kick has like 200,000 plus followers, or more. I can't remember, but it's like astronomical following. MMA Island's not on that level, so he didn't even, talk to me in, fine. But one day I'll be there. So I'm taking steps like, again, perfect scenario be what? To jump straight into the UFC, right? And cover a UFC event, right? But no, I went Clan Wars first, Clan Wars second, Clan Wars third, fourth, fifth. Oh, another show here, Cage Legacy, cool. Let's do that. Oh, another show here, IUR, let's do that. Now Chaos Legacy, let's do that. Okay, now I'm at Bellator. So it's a journey, man. Like, yeah, I'm
I used
like,
to,
obviously from a coaching perspective, I'm
yeah.
super against trying to be a perfectionist. Super against that. Yeah.
I used to, before I was co-hosting, I used to think that if you want to grow the name of your podcast or your brand, you'd have to focus mainly on the UFC, on the big names, what's happening in the US. Like you really would, if you focus on the local scene, what's happening closer to you, around you, then you would be wasting your time, and your following wouldn't really grow. Because based on what you just said, it seems that if your following isn't high enough, then people don't take you seriously. People will not watch your interviews. They will not consume your content. They won't really take any attention of what you're doing. That's what I used to think, because based on what you said, if your following isn't high enough, MMA Island wouldn't have reached out to you, and it looks like certain fighters won't even approach you or even take you up on your offer for an interview. So you see, I used to think like that, but it seems to be that what you're saying is correct, and it seems to be that from what you said, if your following isn't high enough, people won't take you seriously.
But here's the thing, right? And here's the other problem. What you just said there. If you don't just do UFC, you're not going to make it. Okay, but that's not where my interest lies, right? I actually have a passion, and I actually have the curiosity to know these guys, right?
Yeah,
To follow their journey, and
yeah,
I want to find the next Conor McGregor before everybody knows who they are. And I can tell you right now, another great example here, Dara Kelly. I don't know if you watched his fight. Dara Kelly, Bellator 275. I watched them go 8-0, and I watched them go 9-0 at Clan Wars. Had them on the podcast before that 8-0. Number one ranked amateur in the UK and Ireland in the lightweight division. Makes his pro debut at Bellator against a guy who's 3-0 from the Manchester top team, one of the top teams in the UK, right? Where Lerone Murphy trains and Mohammed Mokayev, UFC stars are coming out of that gym. The guy's 3-0 taking on a guy who's 0-0, right? So I watched him get in there, submit the guy in the first round, wins. And the news just came out yesterday. Bellator signed him and gave him a 4-fight deal. So, right? So this
yeah.
guy is potentially going to be 5-0 in like a year to a year and a half. And I'm 100% sure this guy is going to get picked up by the UFC eventually. Or he's going to carry on in the Bellator until he gets a lightweight title shot. One of the two. This guy is special. And I got to see that firsthand from the local shows to the big one. And now the guy got the contract. So, yeah, like how special is that? I don't think you understand that, or other people understand that, because you guys are not leaving what I'm leaving. Like I'm going to these small shows. I'm watching these guys live. I'm watching them backstage warming up. I'm watching the whole process. I used to train myself. I know how fucking hard this is, which is why doing this podcast kind of lit the fire on me again. And I'm like, okay, I got to go and finish this chapter of my life. I got to at least get one fight out of the way so that I can say that I've done it. So this is how I started into MMA. I started training because I wanted to lose weight. Then it became because I want to fight, I want to compete. And then I couldn't do that. So after all those years, 2010, fast forward to 2022, I'm finally going to be able to compete, knock on wood. I got no injuries or anything like that. That stopped me from competing this time. Yeah, I'm one of the guys, and I think people see that. I'm one of the guys. I'm one of the fighters. I'm not just a fan. I'm one of them. You know, I know firsthand how hard these guys train and how hard it is to complete an MMA session. Never mind doing like 7 to 14 sessions in a week, and having a date that you're gonna have to show up. And if you haven't put the work, it's gonna show because the other
Of
guys
course,
do the
yeah.
work. Yeah, so yeah, this is special to me. Like this is super special.
I
Yeah.
guess maybe it's just a bad habit that I've had, or a bad habit that I've picked up along, growing up, from childhood into adolescence into my young adult years. That if you don't focus on the big stuff, then you're missing out. If you focus on the small stuff, you're not going to get anywhere. I guess that mentality is something I've got to wash my hands off, because it has been suggested to me before. You're not the only one that I should focus on the local scene, on the UK, and yeah, and the Irish scene as well. That wouldn't hurt, at least, because the big scene, the UFC Bellator One Championship, but the UFC in particular, there's still a lot of other podcasts that are already established and they're already talking about those names already. So if, at least over here in the UK and Ireland, I think you're way ahead of me, but speaking for myself,
There's a
it,
funny one. There's a funny one I found on. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish yours.
um what I'm
About
saying
that.
is that at least once the people suggest that if I wanted my platform to grow, it wouldn't hurt to focus on the small names, at least while the smaller names are growing, getting bigger, the promoters and the athletes and other affiliated individuals, that once they get to that big international stage level, of course, I would benefit from that as well.
Yeah, but again, like you like you don't do it for the numbers. You don't do
No,
it
of
for the
course, no.
follows. You do it because you want to do it,
Mm.
and that's something that I do because I want to do it, right? Where most of these other podcasts, and like anyone can debate me on this, but most of these other podcasts, they are just fans, and most of them are casual fans where they just watch UFC, nothing else, or they watch maybe UFC and Bellator, nothing else, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
They never trained a day in their lives. They don't know how hard this is. They don't know what it is to face another guy in one-to-one combat. So there's a lot here to unpack. And again, like I never started this for the follows. I never started this for the likes. I was like, as a fan, can I get to sit down and speak to this person or that person or that person? You know,
yeah.
can I do that as a fan? And that's how it started. And I got Alexander O'Sullivan as my first guest, the first guy to say yes. He was number one and number two ranked fighter, amateur of Ireland at the time. He came on, we spoke, cool. Number two guest was an amateur that, or a guy that wasn't even an amateur. He was going to have his amateur debut at Clan Wars. So that was a different angle. So I spoke with a guy that had like 30 fights to a guy that has 0 fights and he's about to have his fight. Third episode, I get Corey McKenna from the UFC. I'm like, oh fuck, this is a big jump. Um, so then I realized, oh fuck, I can actually talk with UFC fighters. Wow, okay, I didn't think they would say yes to me being this small, but she did, which is
Mhm.
fucking awesome. And then I got Roman Faraldo from the Bellator. The guy had just scored like a flying knockout that went viral. He responded to my DM, and yeah, he came on my podcast. So that was my fourth episode. So like in 4 episodes, I got a Bellator, a UFC fighter, and two Clan Wars fighters. And it just went from there. It just went from there. So like I started again, not looking for perfection. just can I, as a fan, get to know these people and get to know these fighters. And Cory McKenna was only like 6-0 at the time, or 6-1, 5-1, and then she got her sixth victory. Yeah, so 6-1. So she's still a prospect, which is why I call the Prospect MMA podcast. Roman Foraldo was 3-0 as a professional. So I just got him like right there. The guy is now like 5-0, and he scored another flying knee knockout. The guy has like just finished it. So like that's another guy that I want to keep documenting his journey as he goes up, because that's a guy I'm sure people are going to know of. And yeah, man. So that was my idea for my podcast, and that's something that I think people need if they want to pursue this line of work, is like find your niche, find what you're interested in, find what you want to do. What can you do forever for free that you're never going to get tired of? And I can do this for free forever, and I'm not going to get tired of, or I'm not going to stop doing it just because I don't get the views or the follows or this or that. Like, I'm good. I'm good with whatever comes from this. No problem. Yeah.
All right. We have been speaking for, it's now pushing an hour or 45 minutes to an hour. Now, you said you're going to interview coming up at 11:30. Is that still okay? So
yeah. He already
mark
replied
this as,
here.
No, so that interview is still going to go ahead
with my guy
at 11:30. Yes.
Yeah. He's on my DMs right now. He's
All right. So should we wrap up here and probably just call this part one? Should we call part two later? Because we just talked about mainly your experience at Bellator. We haven't talked about Ciaran Clarke and the Bobby Green and Makachev fight, and Austin Vanderford, his fight. I think Sean Strickland called him out.
I've watched that fight, and I'll tell you very quickly here. I've watched that fight. That fight shouldn't have happened. Bullshit fight. Doesn't give Islam the right to fight for the title, in my opinion. If he was to step up this weekend and fight against RDA, okay, and if he wins against RDA, okay, then that's a legit win, and that would put him in title contention, even if it's fought at 170. But yeah, Bobby Green, like, he's not even ranked, man, and for them to be like, here, pad your record with this win, it's like, okay, that's not fair.
Bobby Green versus Islam.
Yeah, I think it's a bullshit matchup, and
really,
I said that before the fight happened, and when the fight happened, it's like, yep, still a bullshit matchup.
I have to look at, okay, clearly from what you're saying, I need to look into Bobby Green's stats much more meticulously, because I saw the fight, and eventually when Islam got him on the ground, I said, okay, that's their fight. So because when these Dagestani guys get their opponent on the ground, it's usually game over from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so
yeah. Those are my thoughts on that,
guys. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy the episode, please don't forget to leave a like, and please don't forget to subscribe. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and on Google Podcasts. And I'll leave Emmanuel's links to his Prospects MMA podcast in the description below. So I think, are we going to do a part two later to talk about the fights, or are you going to be?
We'll see. Okay. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Today I have training, and then I have let me just plug that in. I have Turbo coming on the podcast, flyweight from the US. He's 5-0. He trains with Chris Weidman, Matt Serra, and all this stuff in New York. 5-0, CFFC champion. That's going to be live on Instagram. So tune in around 9:30, guys, if you want to watch that live.
All right, guys. I do myself have some guests coming on. 2 of them should have shown up for the past 2 days, but for one thing or the reason or the other, they were unable to make it. All right. So until next time.
Okay. Thank you.
Give me a smile just for the. That's all right. I'll find something. That's good. Thank you.
Cool.